Welcome to The Thriving Scapegoat, a podcast for women who are cast as the problem, when in truth, they were the truth tellers. I'm your host, Julie Cielos, somatic coach, author, and guide for women healing from complex trauma, family enmeshment, and the invisible wounds of being scapegoated. If you ever felt misunderstood, exiled, or blamed for dynamics you didn't create, if you've done the deep work to break the generational patterns and you're ready to reclaim your voice, your body, and your life, you're in the right place. This is where we stop over-explaining, stop performing for love, and start living in alignment with what's real. Here, we talk about nervous system healing, shadow work, emotional sovereignty, and what it takes to not just survive your past, but thrive beyond it. Because you were never too much. You were never the problem. You were the disruption to the dysfunction, and now you get to become the woman who rises because of it. Let's begin.
Hi, today I'm talking about why the scapegoat gets sick. Welcome back to the Thriving Scapegoat. So I've been thinking a lot about what to say in this episode because this one feels personal. In the last episode, I talked about what a scapegoat is and how one person in a toxic system ends up carrying what no one else is willing to face. But what I didn't say is what it costs. It's not just emotionally, but physically. Because if you're anything like me, there comes a point where your body starts to speak in ways that you can't ignore anymore. And suddenly, it's not just about being misunderstood. It's about being exhausted, inflamed, overwhelmed, deeply unhappy, and disconnected from your own body. Maybe you want to disappear. And you're wondering quietly, why is this happening to me? Going into victim mode. But there's a pattern to identify here. And I used to think I was doing everything right, taking care of my body, being highly responsible, doing what I thought I needed to do to be liked. I was disciplined, I was showing up for everyone, and still something was off. Like, no matter how much I did, my body didn't respond the way that it should. I felt terribly ill at age 24 of a mystery illness. I got spots on my skin, like I was literally disappearing. I couldn't eat anything but rice and steamed vegetables for over a year. I was bedridden for months, couldn't work. Interestingly, my ex-husband stepped up at that time. But what I didn't understand then was that what I wasn't dealing with wasn't just a health problem. I was dealing with a nervous system response from being in survival mode for decades. Because when you grow up as the scapegoat, you learn very early on it's not safe to have needs. It's not safe to tell the truth. It's not safe to express anger or have needs or to take up space in general. So you adapt. You become the one that can handle it. You fit into a little box. Perhaps you financially support your family or your partner for decades because you're the one that doesn't need anything. You don't share because I don't want to come off as needy. And this just keeps going. So on the outside, it looks like strength, but on the inside, something entirely different is happening because the body holds it all. And what I see now and what I've lived is that the body keeps a very honest record. What you don't say, what you swallow, what you override, it doesn't disappear. It gets stored. It gets stored in the nervous system, in the tissues, in the immune system. And over time, that suppression starts to turn into symptoms. Not all at once, but slowly, subtly. Subtly at first, and then not so subtle. And here's what's most important to understand. This isn't rare. It might be hard for you to believe, but 80% of all autoimmune conditions occur in women. PTSD, complex PTSD, women. Highly capable, deeply empathetic, overgiving women. Holding everything, families, communities together. Women who look like they're functioning well, but whose bodies are carrying an invisible load. So, a little of my own personal truth. For me, it didn't feel like it happened overnight, but after my first breast augmentation surgery and my first dose of birth control, two things that I felt like I had gone against myself to do. It began a slow unraveling, years of overriding what I felt, years of having to stay in dynamics that didn't feel right just to survive. Years of being the one that could see the truth, but couldn't really live it. And eventually, my body stopped cooperating when it felt a little safe to let down. Not because it was broken, but because it was done. Done carrying what didn't belong to me, especially in midlife. Done performing strength, done performing wellness, done performing at the expense of truth. And I remember the moment when I realized no amount of discipline was going to fix this. No amount of being better was going to resolve something that lived so deep inside of me. And that was a hard truth. It was also the beginning of addressing the truth my body was telling me. So when midlife enters the conversation, women, hormones start to shift. Estrogen, which has been buffering stress for years, begins to decline. And suddenly, everything that you've been holding together starts to feel like it's falling apart. And perfectionism, if that's something that you've dealt with, becomes very challenging. Sleep changes, the weight shifts, self-confidence is challenged, and anxiety shows up differently. Inflammation rises. So it's easy to think, what's wrong with me? But what I've come to understand is that both personally and professionally, and women that I work with, nothing is wrong. No, the body is no longer compensating. It's no longer willing to carry the cost of survival in the same way. It's asking for something different. So we need to give it something different. And that is the turning point. The moment where everything can change. When you stop asking, why is my body betraying me? Like there's something wrong with the body. And start asking, what has my body been trying to protect me from? Because your body isn't the problem. Your body is the messenger. Your nervous system's been trying to keep you safe for your whole life. So if you're in a season where your body feels unfamiliar and your symptoms are louder than they used to be, where things that used to work just don't anymore, I want you to hear this. You are not broken. Your body is responding to years, maybe decades of holding what was never yours to carry. Specifically, shame. And your body is asking for truth now. Not performance, not perfection, not more effort, just truth. And for many scapegoats, that truth leads to a very difficult place. People go away when you start being your authentic self. A place where we don't talk about enough, like distance and boundaries and separation, but sometimes estrangement, because healing doesn't just change how you feel in your body, it changes what you're willing to stay connected to. So in the next episode, we're going to talk about that. What happens when the only way to heal is to step away? This is the Thriving Scapegoat, and this is where we start telling the truth about what is really, really honest and what it takes to live free.
If today's episode resonated, that's your entry point. Healing scapegoating isn't just insight, it's nervous system work. And this is what I teach through seasonal somatics, a body-based method that helps you regulate, reconnect, and move with real change. I offer weekly group classes, both in-person and online, immersive retreats, and limited one-on-one mentorship. You can find all the details in the show notes. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs it, and make sure you're subscribed. Until next time, choose truth over belonging, self-trust over self-abandonment. You didn't just survive this to stay stuck. You're here to thrive.